Well, ladies and gentlemen, looks like things are not looking very good for good old woke Sony. Yes, we're going to talk about how Sony just recently released some fiscal year numbers. And you know what? All these companies are releasing their numbers now because they can't hide it anymore. And it looks like a lot of them are losing massive amounts of money. Nobody seems to have any good news regarding their business strategies for the last year. And you know what? I honestly am not shocked. I don't think anybody genuinely could be shocked by this. I don't really think it matters which side of the aisle you stand on. You could be woke as hell, and even you have to admit that things are not looking very good for these companies.
Let's try that again.
So we have an article here from Phantom Post with a headline that reads, Sony Pictures fiscal year plunge thanks to ideological blunders like Madam Web. Now, Madam Web was one of those movies that even the actors in the movie didn't care about the movie. You know what I mean? Like, Madam Web, we knew was going to flop drastically. And it wasn't just because there was women in the movie or anything like that. No, it has to do with the fact that the movie itself had no purpose, right? You gave us a Spider-Man film without Spider-Man. It just doesn't make any sense. And then you decided to tell everybody before the movie came out that it's not going to count towards any universe. Not even Sony's Spider-Man universe is going to count towards nothing and just be its own little Elseworld story, thus completely nuking any chance that someone will watch it for continuity reasons or anything like that. It was just terrible. But apparently Sony has lost quite a bit of money. So let's get into this article, guys, from Phantom Pulse. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. It says Sony Pictures Entertainment has reported a nearly 10% decrease in operating income for the fiscal year ending from March 31st, 2024. Operating income dropped from $894 million to $808 million compared to the previous year, despite a slight increase in revenues from $10.14 billion to $10.31 billion. The decline in operating income is in fact notable. Sony attributes the downturn in its pictures segment encompassing TV production, motion pictures, and media networks, partly to the impact of Hollywood strikes. The real reason is, of course, forced leftist ideology in flops like Madam Web. Now, again, guys, I don't know if the real reason is solely based on identity politics. Obviously, identity politics plays a massive part of what we are dealing with lately when it comes to how much money all of these studios are losing. And again, Sony's not the only one. I want to make that very clear as well. There is a lot of studios out there that are losing drastic amounts of money. If anything, I think Sony probably is on the lower side compared to what some of these other studios are losing, like Disney, for example, you know, and even Amazon. Like, they're losing so much money, it's insane. But the thing about Sony is that they don't have the play money like Disney does. They don't have the play money like Amazon does. They can't exactly subsidize these losses for a long period of time. It will start to affect them drastically if they don't turn things around. It says, while the previous fiscal year suffered from a lack of new theatrical releases, this year saw some growth, particularly with the expansion of streamer Crunchyroll. However, the labor actions and decreased catalog licensing of motion pictures still resulted in a decrease in series delivered. In terms of revenue breakdown, motion pictures saw a slight increase to $3.74 billion, while TV production declined from nearly $4 billion to just over $3.8 billion. On the other hand, media networks experienced growth from $2.69 billion to $2.72 billion. Now, one thing I want to mention in this video, does anybody else think it's absolutely insane the amount of cost that's going into this stuff? I mean, look at these numbers. If the revenues were around $10.31 billion and all you had to take from that was $808 million, then your costs are absolutely through the roof. I mean, it has to be. I cannot imagine that is normal. I guess maybe it is, but it's just crazy to me that these costs are so high that they're only taking home $808 from $10.31 billion. You guys realize just how much money that is going to the cost of everything? It's fucking nuts, man. It says, among Sony's top grossing movies for the year were Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which we knew about, Napoleon. Oh, okay, I didn't know Napoleon did that well. Anyone But You, The Equalizer 3, and Insidious: The Red Door. The company released a total of 17 films during the period, contributing to its overall revenue. However, Sony faced challenges, particularly with underperforming titles like Madam Web, which received negative reviews and struggled at the box office. Despite high hopes, Sony Pictures' Madam Web suffered dismal losses at the box office. Who had high hopes for Madam Web. I don't know if anybody who had high hopes for Madam Web. Even the actresses didn't have high hopes for Madam Web. I mean, what are we talking about? It says it failed to resonate with audiences due to its leftist ideological slants and departure from the source material. With a production budget nearing $100 million, the film's underwhelming six-day opening of $25 million and a total global box office intake of just $100 million underscored Sony's misjudgment and added to the string of financial disappointments in its Spider-Man universe of live-action spin-offs. Now, forget the wokeness, forget the leftist ideological stuff. What really made Madam Web fail, like I said before, is the fact that this was an Elseworld story that nobody gave a shit about, of a character that nobody gave a fuck about. And if you did have Madam Web fans, if you actually had real Madam Web fans and wanted to go see this movie, you didn't actually give them Madam Web. That's the most hilarious thing about all this. The Madam Web that's in the movie is not the Madam Web that's in the comics, right? So there's nothing there that's going to make people want to go there for nostalgia reasons or whatever. Most people don't even care or know about Madam Web. I'm just being real with you. Any normie within the Spider-Man universe just knows of a few characters, and Madam Web is not one of them. So you decided to make an entire movie based on a character that almost nobody on a normal level knows about, and then you didn't even give the fans who do know of the character, the actual character itself from the comics, and you made an entire fucking movie over it. It just doesn't make any sense. Madam Web is one of those movies that just didn't have to exist. There is no reason for it to exist. You would have been much better making another character based off making another movie based off a more popular character in Spider-Man. Madam Web was not it. It says in the fourth quarter, Sony Pictures profited increased to $208 million, up 75% from the previous year, with sales edging up to $2.74 billion. Motion pictures generated $1.06 billion in sales, and TV productions provided $961 million, and media networks contributed to $705 million to the overall revenue. Sony Group's full-year sales reached 13 trillion yen, approximately $83 billion at current exchange rates. During the results presentation, Sony executives declined to comment on potential acquisitions, including the rumored acquisition of Paramount. If Sony actually acquires Paramount, I don't really know what that's going to do for them, to be honest with you. I guess they'll get access to certain TV shows that some people are wanting, but Paramount itself is doing bad for a reason, and I don't think Sony would be smart to spend a ton of money on absorbing Paramount. I think they should try to get it as cheap as humanly possible, obviously. Otherwise, it would make no sense. The decline in Sony Pictures Entertainment operating income can be attributed to other factors too, including labor strikes and decreased catalog licensing. While the company experienced successes with certain movie releases, flops like Madam Web underscored challenges within its Spider-Man universe of live-action spin-offs. Critical reviews for Madam Web mirrored previous installments in the franchise, indicating a consistent downward trend in both financial and critical performance. You know what it is too about Spider-Man? Is that there's a lot of confusion over the character about, who it belongs to, right? Between Sony and obviously Disney's Marvel. It was doing very well when there was a continuity between the two, right? When Tom Holland was able to be that Spider-Man in the MCU, and overall Sony and Marvel will collaborate together to make the movie. That's when things really hit it off. But other than that, when they try to do their own thing, it really doesn't do that great. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like at this point, they need to just sell the character back to Marvel, but they're not going to, because they know they got a gold mine when it comes to Spider-Man. And as long as they continue to release Peter Parker Spider-Man movies, I'm sure there's always going to be money in it at some point in time. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.